Hi, and welcome to Lights, Camera, Texas. I'm Billionna Reyes, and today's guest is Matt Poitras.
How you doing?
Hi. What is MP FilmCraft?
MP FilmCraft is a business that is also as a prop company, costume company, and also a production company.
Okay.
So it's all those three things, and I make my living mainly out of making replica props from Star Wars, Gladiator, and Game of Thrones and stuff like that.
Wow.
It's my bread and butter is replica movie stuff. I also have a lot of historical armor I make, and from time to time I get paid to do some of that stuff. And then the production side of it is just kind of an independent production company. Company's just me, sole proprietorship. I kept it real simple, and my overhead's really low. I work out of the house, so it's like that's kind of the reason I've been able to function for so many years, because you kind of have ups and downs when you're in a business like this.
How did you get started in this business?
Years ago, it's going on like 20 years. I've always made props and done costumes and stuff like that, just for my own projects. When I was like a student filmmaker, and in high school I did student films as well. And I just always kind of was drawn to making stuff with my hands. And after college, right after college, I had a Han Solo belt that I had made years ago, and eBay was a brand new thing then, and I decided to throw it up on eBay, and it went for $360 to a guy in Japan.
What?
And that started my business. Like, it was kind of an accident. I was just like, I just wanted to see if there was a market for it. And after that, I got kind of 20 something Han Solo orders came in, and at the time I was selling them for like $200 a pop. Mm-hmm. Now I'm selling them for $400, but they're much better. I was still kind of like a beginner.
You kind of improved.
They're way improved. The pattern's kind of essentially the same, but like the way I stain leather, the materials I use, the leather I use, the way I stitch it, it's a lot more professional at this point. So, and there's little, the buckles are way better too. I get my buckles cut by laser up in Dallas, so it's they're very professionally made.
How long have you been doing this?
Going on 20 years professionally. I've been doing this, I've been making stuff with my hands probably since I was about 12 or 13. So I kind of learned some early stuff. I started with cardboard and hot glue, and, making replicas of uniforms for my own movies and stuff like that when I was a teenager.
What type of props do you specialize in?
Leather-based stuff and military-based stuff. The leather craft is really like my trade. I really enjoy it. It's really actually quite therapeutic.
How does someone contact you?
I mean, email's the best.
What's your email?
It's mattmp40@gmail.com.
Do you need any qualifications to be a prop designer?
But qualification-wise, it's like if you're good at making stuff with your hands, if you're good at taking something that's like a photograph or referencing a movie and taking that and seeing it and replicating it in three-dimensional, making it 3D with your hands, then yeah, that's a good start right there.
Is there a difference between film props and theater props?
Yeah, there's the biggest difference is theater. They kind of want you to make stuff that's kind of bigger and that reads from stage basically, okay. And you don't have to put in the amount of work and detail that you have to do sometimes for film stuff, especially nowadays shooting in HD. I mean,
it catches everything.
Nothing hides. There's no hiding, so it's you really want to have some good quality props for HD stuff. I mean, it's almost like you got to up your game even since film 35mm film production. It's like HD, just there's no hiding anything really.
How often do you create props?
It's a weekly basis thing. I mean, my living is made off of making stuff for people, so I'm in the shop every week. There's sometimes that I don't get in here, but it's basically because I'm working on a film or editing. I mean, pretty much every day almost.
What's the most interesting thing you've made so far?
I would say the most interesting thing I've done now with some of my specific historical focuses, on Scythian culture from 5th century BC, some of the Persian stuff I've done. Those are my passions. So, but it's kind of like a niche kind of market for that kind of stuff.
Do you offer classes or internships at the moment?
I've never really not anything class wise. If someone's interested in learning, it kind of depends on what they're interested in. I've kind of taken on an apprentice before as a trade for a website many years ago. It's definitely a possibility, but it's not something I regularly offer or whatever. It just kind of depends on if I have the time and what the person's interested in really.
What is the process of creating a prop?
Typically, design is the first process, or concept. It depends on if I'm creating something for myself or for one of my own projects, or if I'm making something for somebody else. Because if you're making something for someone else, then there's always what they have in mind, to be designed. And a lot of times you have to go with what they want. I've worked with a few designers over the years, kind of like as not directly with them, but like through someone. Like sometimes when I do stuff for Disney, they're of course working with Lucasfilm, and so working for Lucasfilm is like it's kind of like everything has to be approved, and they want samples on hand, and they get back with you, and they have all these small detail changes that they want, so it's kind of like it's a way different process. The creative process isn't as free as it would be if I was making something for myself, but typically it's the concept, and then depending on how big the thing is, like for an example, like an armor design would probably take me about a day to design in the shop. I draft my patterns. I might by the end of the day get to cutting out the armor and then leaving it overnight and kind of like sleeping on it and thinking about what I'm going to do with the rest of it in the morning. But yeah, design, pattern making, and then actually physically cutting the stuff out.
What's the difference between a prop and a set piece?
It's mainly like if it's like something that's staying on stage, it's usually a set piece. Prop things are usually a lot smaller, and it might be something someone's going to be holding, or something someone's going to have on their person, or whatever.
What type of props are there?
All types. I mean, like I specialize in like the more weapons-based, military-based props. There's just like sometimes when if I get a gig to do something, I'm just the prop guy, so it's like I have to do all the little props too. Like they need a spoon, they need a cup, they need some there's some kitchen scene, they need a certain kind of spice in the shot that gets spilled all over the place. Those are the things that I can do, but it's not really my passion to do it. My specialty is the weapon stuff and military stuff, of course, But yeah, there's all sorts. I mean, it's just really anything that a script requires. Yeah.
Is there any advice you'd give someone that's starting out into this career, especially prop making?
Try to get a gig on a shoot, really, and just learn from that.
What materials do you usually work with?
Leather is the main one. I do work with some plastics like ABS, PVC, a lot of flat PVC. Like this, all the paneling here is all flat PVC.
Okay.
It's really great stuff to fabricate stuff out of. It's not that strong, but you can use like leather tools on it. You can cut it with a knife. So it's like, and you can also vacuum form it. So if you're making a helmet that's going to be eventually made out of resin, that's usually what I start with, is vacuum forming something like that, making my master out of it. So I work with plastics like that, and then I work with silicones to make molds out of. I work with a lot of resins to cast things out of, to make them look like metal. Usually is typically it. Fabrics, I work with a lot of linen. I work with a lot of wool. Sometimes I do silk. I've actually done a lot of nylon work with some of the gear I made for military stuff.
Okay.
I mean, it's always fun to just find a new material to work with, and that's why I like making stuff for other people sometimes, because sometimes they want something made out of something that I haven't worked with before.
What is a prop table?
Prop table is something I've actually never really used. I kind of have a different process, but it's basically I've seen them before. It's just a table with the props laid out, and sometimes like if you have the time, you might kind of like, it's more important I think for theater and when shows are going on to have a place where the prop's going to be, so the actors can grab it themselves. But it's kind of like divided up into sections where it's like, this is where this goes, this is where this goes. So
let's talk about your filmmaking. Not only are you a prop designer, prop maker, you also are a filmmaker. Do you have any upcoming films that you're doing?
I have a Viking documentary that is pretty much done, and I'm trying to get it distributed right now. I finished cutting it back in October, and we had a little private premiere in November.
Okay.
When some friends of mine who were in it were over from London. That one I shot it in 2017 in Poland and London, and then I had some additional footage from like 2011 for my first documentary. Unused stuff of our founder who passed away in 2012, and there's a big kind of like the B story to this documentary is about him, because he was the founder of our group 30 years ago or something like that. So that one I've entered it in several film festivals. I've gotten one award so far. I'm did my last round of it, you know, because I was hoping to have it out this summer,
Mm-hmm.
but you kind of have to wait to see what you're getting into first. Getting into festivals always helps you with just you know, distribution, or you might actually pick up a distributor at a decent festival. But it's kind of like it's a long process, you know. It's like, because you get your film done, you're like, okay, I'm ready to show it to people,
But then you
and
can't
then you kind
give
of
it
have
all
to
the
wait.
requirements.
Yeah, you have to wait. I mean, like I could put it out next week if I wanted to, and I may actually do some kind of like pre-DVD for Vikings only release, because I have a lot of Vikings interested in seeing it already.
Mm-hmm.
So I may do that. I don't think that'll affect distribution too bad.
Thanks so much for watching. If you want to know more information,
You can visit my website, mpfilmcraft.com, and I hope you check it out.
bye.